Welcome back to another episode of Stationeers. Today we're going to be getting on with a little bit of building rather than doing some more programming. One quick thing I just wanted to mention, just in the end of the last episode I mentioned, I had a problem. I solved it by using something different to this, using an alias and a register. You can use the word define to define constants, and that works perfectly well. Just want to address that, and that just means you can define values for triggers and everything else. That works perfectly well, so we're not going to ignore that. Because today's episode is more of a buildy episode rather than anything else. So I'm just going to put a valve down here. This is leading back to our furnace line, which right now is being dealt with just by voiding it. And we're not really going to, well, voiding it, Minecraft terminology, just by getting rid of the atmosphere. We're going to sort that out just by letting it be input into the rest of the system. So we'll just do the same thing here. So a corner piece. Yeah, and clearly I'm running out of filters. How many filters do I have? I only have one left, and I've got 4 spaces, so I can just print off some more filters. And in fact, we could even go to a heavy or medium filter, but they are more expensive than the light version, so let's just go for some light ones. Nitrous Oxide filters, yes, build me one of those. How much is left in my air tank? Well, my H2 tank. Yeah, 2,600, that's still fine. That's 2, and the third one will be coming. So I will just drag them into place, and drag that one into place, and drag this one into place, and now I have 4 filters. Great. We're going to be building a recycler fairly soon. You'll see I'm building up a whole stack of nitrous oxide spent filters. Anyway, they will do for now. And what else was we going to do? So yes, that is the furnace output has now been basically connected to our input here. It doesn't go anywhere until I actually pull this valve. So right now I'm controlling it manually, but that's going to change soon enough. So first of all, I'm going to get started just by making some more steel. And I've just dumped in the steel. It should be cooking now. Are we roughly around the right kind of area? We are. So once it finishes with this 150 units of iron, then we should be able to just get some steel out of this thing. So let's wait for a second. And there we go. Ingot steel. That's going to come out of the mold. Perfectly fine. And now you'll see we still have some hot gas. Now, I did ask last episode, and thankfully someone came back to me and said, yes, the hot gases don't damage the atmospheric units, but they may well do so in the future. There's sort of some provision in the code for that to happen. So what we may well want to do is when we switch the normal valve into the digital valve, what am I going with this? I actually want to make more steel frames, don't I? Let's just put you down there and tell you to just make some more frames, because I'm going to be, there we go. I'll just leave that. It takes them a little while to make, so I know I'm not going to overmake them. I'm going to need at least like 8 by, so 24, 48 steel frames, well, maybe 44 steel frames, maybe a couple of extra for positioning the extra tanks and stuff like that, but I'll need those for this kind of area. So yes, I'm not going to basically want to undo this in the future, at least once it's automatically controlled, until we have the option to basically let it cool first. And what we don't have right now is a cooling mechanism for it. Now, it will cool quite naturally just by being a pipe that's exposed to essentially the atmosphere. It just won't do that terribly quickly. So we could have a separate cooling loop quite easily here, just by really just extending this pipe. This pipe is connected to the furnace, as is this one. Directly, there's nothing in between them. And we could just put a loop here and just a series of radiators on that loop. And it would passively cool the gas down. So that is something that's straightforward to actually do. So why don't we do that for now? You can do other things to cool things later. And an air conditioner, you can use a heat exchanger, if you like, with different sort of rooms and stuff like that. We'll come on to that later. But for now, we're just going to get rid of this gas. So I'm going to open this, and you should see them come on. So there's the CO2, there's the pollutant, and it's pretty much getting rid of all of that. If we just have a look here, you'll see we didn't really have all that much to get rid of. No, it's got rid of everything it needs to. So that is there. And let's just double check, make sure I'm not just hallucinating. That's a configuration. I don't want a configuration, I want an atmosphere analyzer. Let's swap those over. There we go. So yeah, this is 624 kPa, and we have well, we have O2 in there, but we have CO2 and we have X. Both of those are below the threshold. needed to turn the system on. So if we just redefine this for a second, let's go in here and let's set this to, I don't know, 50. Okay, so turn that on, export, they'll both come on simultaneously. And it won't take them very long at all to get rid of all the contents. There they go. And they're nice and efficient. So yeah, very much like it. And you'll see that's still a pure supply, as is that one. So they are both nice and pure. So that's pretty good. Right, so our system works. Let's upgrade this thing maybe. Let me just go and see how many steel blocks I've actually got so far. And I'll start construction and bring you back in a few minutes. And here our walls are in place, and I've got most of the tanks done. I need one more tank to be printed off. And then here is, well, we can put the input on either side. I think I'm going to put the input on this side because, hey, that's where everything is coming from, right around here. So we want our input to be perhaps right next to this pipe analyzer. So if we just get this in place, let's just draw that for a second. And this is going to be for our waste, you know, our air tank. Well, not our air tank, but our waste tank. That's 1600 kPa at the moment, so we're going to want to basically make sure this is filterable, and we're just going to change that by adding a corner there, and then this will go here. This has a slight disadvantage, and it's not a big one, but it's just something to be aware of. Yeah, if you put a canister in here, because our program is set to trigger on a certain number of moles, if this thing doesn't have that number of moles, then it will actually not be filtered. It will just stay inside this network. So what we could do to stop that is take this back out again, and let's just get rid of this. If I can find the right tool, wrench. Again, me and these have problems. And then we're going to have just one space. So I need to just put in a couple of pieces of pipe first of all. That will do. So I just about have enough. So 1, 2, and then we put that on top. Let's get this the right way around. Are you correct there? You look to be correct. Okay. And then we're going to take this back out right here, because we need one space free. And that space we're just going to fill, and we could just use a pump or a pressure regulator. A pump is probably far, far, far more powerful, but we don't necessarily need it. So yeah, pressure regulator uses up less energy if I remember rightly. In fact, it's probably time for me just to double check that those numbers are still correct. So let's just take a look. If we can get a pump here, pump, volume pump, yeah, and it should depend on exactly what you set this to in terms of the number of liters you set it to. The higher the number of liters, of course, the more power this thing used to take. So I'm just going to grab you, and we'll put you again here. I think this will do. There we go. And we need to get the other way around. Okay, and then we need power from somewhere. I'm going to have to remove that anyway, because that is going to have to go somewhere else, because this is going to be a wall, and we can't pull atmosphere through a wall. This can also, I guess, get modified as well. You can go away. You can get turned into a corner. Corner piece. There we go. It's nice and neat. And then we should just be able to just grab cable and just send it inward like that. And then from here, just send this upwards, I think, and forwards. Okay, now this thing doesn't need to be automatic, and in fact we can take a look at what its power usage is going to be, so we can probably have a look at that now. So let's grab my tablet. That's atmosphere. I need the other cartridge, and I don't have it on me. I should carry these cartridges with me, but I die occasionally, and it's one of those things that you just want to make sure you don't die with. Network analyzer, there you go. So I guess we'll just carry it with us, and I'll probably die because of it, but hey, that's just one of those things. So let's just turn you on, and let's take a look at... yeah, I will fix this problem at some point, I promise. I will just probably put railings there to make sure I don't do it. Anyway, what I want to look at is pressure regulators. So back here, we've got pressure regulator, and you'll see if I just hover over this to press F2, pressure regulator on. It's 100 watts if it's on. And we could later control this by a program as well. We might well do, since 100 watts times 7 is 700 watts. That's quite an amount. Not as much as these when they're on, but it's still quite an amount. So we may want to control that later. And what we can do is if these things have a data port, they do have a data port, is we can basically see is there a canister in there. If so, then we'll turn them on, and if not, then we'll turn them back off again. And that will just make sure that these things only are on demand. Anyway, before we get to that, let's take a look at this. So, volume pump, let's turn you on. And volume pump is 400 watts. Okay, so this is rather easier to actually deal with, however, because we are in control exactly of whenever we put anything in there. So whenever we want to input something, we just need to put it there. Turn on the volume pump and it will pump everything out of the canister, everything out of that pipe, and into the pre-computer controlled section. So the section that is leading from our arc furnace and from our regular furnace, and then it will be assessed, and at a certain point, it'll decide to absorb it. We won't need to worry about it other than that. And yeah, so it comes all the way over, and it's also the same piece of pipe as this here. So we have everything connected all to this pre-processing area. What we could do is also have another input area. So we could, I guess we could also connect it to above here. That will probably be for the best. It's going to be on a wall anyway, so it's not like it's too much of an issue. And I think we're probably going to put canister storage, well, not canister storage, but a, what do they call, tank store? No, it's the attachment point thing that we had up there originally. Let's just take a look. What is it called? Tank connector. Yeah, let's build a tank connector. And then also want some pipe, and we'll get them all connected together. This is going to be huge. Yep, it grows in size whenever you go out through the connector, or when you go out through the output port. And this is also going to be pretty much fine. We can decide where we want the connector, but it's probably going to be best at the back here, I think, and probably centered if we can. If we can't center it, why is this tank connector not set? Why? That's going to annoy me. It needs to be something that can actually fit halfway in a block. I'm sorry, that's just no. It needs to be symmetric, guys. Honestly, so let's put it here right next to the window, and then we'll just go and print off some more pipe and hook that in. So whenever we need, for example, our oxygen, which is still in that portable tank, we can put that into our atmospheric system once we've assigned an oxygen tank, and we can put it all into the same system. Inputs on this side, outputs on that side, and our storage area for each of these. And later we can add displays above them to tell us exactly what's in each tank if we really want to. I think I want to, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. We should be able to control those displays, hopefully by a computer program, because the built-in ones are sort of alright, but it's sort of like, here's the pressure, and here's this, and here's that. We want something custom, ideally, something like, the old Space Engineers custom display. So if there isn't one in-game already, it's a shame, and I would really like one. Anyway, I'm sure if there is one, someone will tell me in the comments, and I'm just going to go, and I think, instead of using cladding on the inside, like here, I was suggested to use the walls, and there are walls that you can actually create, the composite ones, and they are airtight. So the cladding we can use for the outside. And someone did also give me a great tip, which I've forgotten to mention entirely, which is, let's just put you away for a second. Oops. Is one of my sort of pet peeves from the earlier episodes. If I just grab this for a second, you'll see what I mean in a second. And some of you may already know what I'm doing, but if you don't, let's just take a look at this. So remember I had the problem with this line. It was annoying. Well, turns out you can actually sort of get away with it. I mean, yeah, I guess, but it's not seamless. So, let me know what you guys think. Yeah, it's okay, I guess. So there are a couple of types of walls. Here is the iron wall, and there is just really those two options. And the iron wall is sort of, it looks okay at this point, but as soon as you complete it with This, yeah, that sort of looks horrible. So that's definitely right out. Let's just take you back off again. Hopefully that is the right tool. Yep, and then angle grinder. Yep. So you can go away. I'm not going to use you anymore. And the iron sheets can go away as well. And we can use the other type. So the other type is the steel version. If you have a look here, there's the steel composite wall, and of course the railing, which I've used back here just to stop me from causing that problem again. I've just put a couple of railings in. They work fine. And here, let's just go for the other type. So composite window, we've already used in the other building. Composite wall, however, we didn't. We used cladding instead. And in this case, let's just put that down. It's going to look slightly different, but still okay, I think. Let's just get that completed. I think we just use steel sheets for that. Welding torch. Oh, is it plastic? Yeah, it's plastic. Oh, okay. I didn't bring plastic with me, I don't think. In fact, I do need to make more of that. So, yeah. But that's interesting. How do we actually make plastic sheets? What is it made with? Interesting. Plastic? Apparently we're making it from silicon. Okay. I think I'm out of silicon. I need to go do some more mining. Oh, there's some plastic sheets. Just 2. That'll do for now. Just to show you what it's doing. But yeah, I do need to go and mine some more of that. So glass and plastic apparently from silicon. Yeah. One would have thought you needed some, you know, hydrocarbons of some kind. Anyway, don't complain. And there is our composite wall. So it does look a little bit different. It's not just like a flat sheet. I'm not sure if there are any other variants of this. I did use this in Season 2 as the wall, and it is nice and airtight, so that is a good option. But yeah, let me know what you think. And of course, we can take a look at that later. So that's all done for now. And then all I'm going to do for this is, if I want some... let's just grab this floor plate up. If I want some atmosphere into our system, at least a small amount right now, I should just be able to connect this up like this, and we'll set it up exactly as we did before. So where's my tools? There we just go, and that can get connected in as a corner. There we go. And same thing on the other side, except now we're just going to connect in a piece of pipe. Do I have any spare pipe? No, I must have used my very last piece of pipe. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm just going to connect that piece up and everything will work there. And you need to make sure this is set that way around, red, which is set to it's currently set inward, but it then says set outward, i.e. that's what will happen if you press the button. Just one of those slightly confusing things, but otherwise that's fine. So yeah, it's all shaping up rather well, really. We've got our input sorted. We need a few more bits of pipe, and I'll go and print that off camera, and then we'll complete that side of things. And while I remember, I'm just going to get rid of these floor gratings. There is no grid. There is no grid blocks underneath them just yet, because I've been putting in other stuff. But I do want to make sure I just first of all snip this line. Yeah, everything on that building should go off. There it goes. Well, it'll stay on because it's got a power connector right there. But I'm just going to just send this, and I'm later going to move this around. But for now, I'm just going to get this connected like this, because we're going to come out sideways, and then we're going to connect this independently back to our batteries, our main batteries, that is. So 1, 2, and then just a corner piece. And I'd already ran most of the cable anyway. You may have already seen it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's just snip off that piece as well. We're not going to need that. Leave that hanging around. And on this side, we just need to connect in on this side. So let's connect you. Come on. There we go. Yep. So everything should turn back on down here. Yep, that's charging again. So everything is nicely connected, and they are now independent. So what I can do, what I'm about to do actually, in fact, let's do that now, shall we? I'm going to just remove that, you know. Let's just grab this. Okay. And I'm just going to grab this battery, drop that up there for a second. And I'm going to turn off the entire building just by pulling this out. And let's just snip this piece I kind of want to put it on a wall maybe at some point. Let's just put it there for now. And I'll redo this later. And we'll just put it in. So the power is going that way. There we go. And open you up. And just in case of power loss, we've got a little tiny battery. Won't last very long, but there we go. And here's what our wall looks like, or at least near our atmospherics, when we have the composite wall in place. And I think it looks quite nice. Yeah, it looks all right. And I've done all the same with this wall as well. So the whole thing tessellates quite well. I'm sort of in two minds about the glass roofs, though. I like them, but at the same time, I want those lights to be on the roof. I just don't think they give enough light on the walls. I think they're meant to cast outwards. So I think what I'm going to try on this building is try a steel roof, and then we'll put another program in place, well, the same program basically as we have in there, in here, and let's see if this actually is a much better space once we have lights on the roof instead. So still 3 high, because that's how high I want the walls, but the 4th one is going to be the roof layer, and we're going to make that out of steel frames. I'll be doing that between the episodes. It won't be something I'm going to do straight away. And what you'll also see with these walls is they very conveniently hide any sort of pipework or cabling that you have on them. So you'll see you don't see any of the cabling here, any of the pipework in between any of these things. Just about see that, and that's just there so I can just get to look at the tooltip if I ever need it. Saves me having to go from my tablet computer. Alternatively, you could just move that actually up to probably, well, anywhere on this line will do actually here. So I think I may well move it to there. And that will be a nicer space than there, I think. And same thing with this. We shouldn't need it to be necessarily anywhere except open to the atmosphere, so we may well put it in between the next ones or something along those sort of lines and leave this space kind of clear for the inputs. So yeah, there's my steel frame. Well, one that's left. And I think that's pretty much it for today. It's going to be a short episode, just because I've been getting on with some building stuff before we get into probably another program next episode. And I've gone and mined a bunch of silicon. You'll see that arc furnace is right there. It's stacked up with silicon, and that does mean I can then get it to produce lots more glass sheets and silicon, well, plastic sheets essentially. See, there's whole stacks of it coming in. And let's just start you off as well. You can go and continue being processed. Good. And we can just get these made very quickly in our auto lathe. So let's just see glass sheets. Let's just start it off making those. In fact, no, I actually want plastic sheets. Just a few of them first. That's how quick they're produced. And 2. And then we're just going to actually add them into this building as well. It's kind of a small building, but it'll actually do. And does look pretty nice, I think. Much nicer than before. So yeah, still a problem with the edges when they're outside a block like this. If they're inside a block, like that space and that space right here, there's no problem because they overlap each other. It's just when they're on the outside of blocks that I have a bit of an issue with them. So if anyone does still have a solution to that, do let me know, but I assume there really isn't one. At least not until we get a kind of edge strips or until there is a better sporting game for that kind of thing. There we go. Okay, pretty cool. And we can do the same thing on the outside here, but we're going to be moving these inside a separate building at some point anyway. They're not going to be done here. We're okay here, but it's sort of, yeah, it's a bit sort of budget by comparison to what we can actually afford to make these days. So yeah, that's the second building. Pretty much done now. It just needs an outside placing. And then we'll get on to something else next episode. Wow, what should we get on to? Well, there's a few options. A new greenhouse could be one of them, because we're still using this very, very manual approach. Another one could be automatic routing of furnace and arc furnace outputs, so the ingots, we can send them somewhere else rather than just in that little railing area. That's one thing to actually do. Third thing is to perhaps think about what we actually use these tanks for, where they go, and what we use that gas for. The gas in the atmosphere, CO2, is plentiful. And that does mean that we can use CO2 as basically a large source of gas to do something with. That could be like heating it, that could be using it for the furnace hot gas and then recycling it through the system. Lots of different things. Do let me know if you have any particular preference, otherwise I'll pick something for next episode and we'll see you for that. So as normal guys, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time for some more Stationeers, And let me just cut that off for a second, because it's going to be printing plastic sheets all day if I don't. And I'm just going to finish sheathing the rest of the base in this stuff until I finish it for the day, really. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And yeah, onward to the next episode.